We're told to study successful people. We're told to study and follow leaders. We're told to learn from the best. And that advice is solid. But somewhere along the way, learning turned into comparing. And comparing doesn't necessarily sharpen the strategy. Benchmarking, when done correctly, doesn't make you smaller, it makes you smarter. And so today we're going to talk about how to study others for insight without surrendering your identity or your direction. Let's talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
When you look at others who are succeeding, do you feel informed or intimidated? Now, I personally can express to you that I felt intimidated at times. Again, what is your definition of succeeding? So for myself, it was looking at my neighbors who was driving around in a BMW 525 at one time, and I was driving a Nissan Maxima. And so I felt intimidated because I felt like they had something that I preferred, I had liked. And he would wash his car every weekend. He would touch it up during the week, but most literally every weekend he was washing that car. So the challenge was not understanding what it took to even have that type of vehicle in my garage. So one of the things I need you to understand that when we think about benchmarking is about patterns, not personalities. The goal isn't to copy someone else's style, their story, or their path. It's to study patterns, habits, systems, decisions, and disciplines that produces the results. And when you focus on the patterns, you gain insight without comparison. Sometimes as well, that comparison can distract, where benchmarking helps you to direct that energy. And see, comparison asks, why not me? Why can't I have that BMW 525? And benchmarking asks, what can I learn? See, one drains the energy and sucks the life out of you, and the other creates clarity and decision-making. Strategic individuals, they extract the lessons without questioning their own worth. And that's wrapped up in this is your identity, and identity is your anchor. See, without a strong sense of who you are and where you're going, benchmarking becomes dangerous. Identity keeps learning grounded and allows you to adapt insights in a way that fit your values, your strengths, and your goals. See, unhealthy comparison leads to doubt, distraction, and burnout. And one of the things that I need you to understand today that I've said a lot in that few moments. But now let's unpack it in my real life scenario, because it is the perfect situation. My neighbor who was, let's give, anywhere between 7 to 12 years older than I was. Probably more closer to 12. He had been in the military. He was working for the post office. And so I did not necessarily understand some of his resources behind the scenes. And some of the things that he would say to me was, and now mind you, this is when I had first gotten married. And so he had been married already for quite a while. His kids, when I had gotten married, his oldest son was in 10th grade or something like that. I didn't even have kids yet. So that's why I said he had been closer to almost 12 years older than I was. And I got married at 24. So what happened is that I had to now understand what his background really was and how long he might have been working and what else he was doing. So now, here's the thing. I was looking at the vehicle as a situation where he was buying the vehicle. What I learned was he was doing leasing. So some of the washing of the car was ensuring that when he took the car back, he understood already what scratches was already on the vehicle, what blemishes were on the vehicle, if he had to change anything before he took it back. When it comes down to his spouse, his spouse had 2 jobs. And so, unfortunately, we get caught up in the comparison space and that we doubt ourselves, and now we're distracted and we want to be someone else, and now we're pushing ourselves to get to that point. But here's something else he said as well, and it sticks to me till today. And I hope most of you listen to this and understand what it's worth. Again, I'm not talking about trying to be a millionaire, but he said to me something of, if one of you can make $100,000 a year, that's basically where you're going to start to feel a little more comfortable, possibly, in your household. Now, this was back in, let's say, 2003, 2004 when he said that to me. And it took quite a few years for me to understand what he meant, because we were not bringing in $100,000 a year. And at one time, we weren't even bringing it in together. But once we started to see our salary rise, once we started to see that, hey, we're bringing in $100,000 together, yes, some of the bills were coming together. Some of our dreams and aspirations were starting to come alive. Some of our situations were becoming a lot more clearer. So this helps you to understand that benchmarking wisely, you can grow faster, you can stay grounded and remain authentic while improving performance. That's why this information matters. That's why understanding where you are and what your goals are and how to understand that, hey, if I reach this particular goal, now I need to shift it a little bit to the next goal, and then shift again and adjust again to the next goal until I get to my ultimate destination. Which we understand that this thing called life is one big journey. You will continually to learn. You will continue to reach goals. And so ultimately, what are you doing? What are you achieving? What are you creating? What are you building? So you don't need someone else's path to validate your own. When you study success without surrendering identity, growth becomes sustainable. So I would like for you to identify one person, a neighbor, a best friend, maybe even an organization that you admire, and list 3 patterns you can learn from without copying their exact journey. See if you could do that. List the 3 patterns and see if you can learn from those patterns without copying the journey. I thank you very much for listening today.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chisholm on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?